Hello and welcome to the Elite Takeover podcast, where we will be running down this week's news and all the goings on in wrestling this week. And of course, it was quite a major week with the start of the WrestleMania season, getting past the Royal Rumble and getting on the road to WrestleMania. And we had AEW Beach Bash this week, and we are only a week away now from NXT something day. It's not Valentine's Day.
Massacre.
No, Valentine's Day Massacre was the 90s pay-per-view. Valentine's, it's like Vengeance Day or something.
Yes, Vengeance Day.
It's a bit of a rubbish name, to be honest. But yes, I am Aidan, joined as always by
Raph.
And as I said, we've changed the format of this a little bit. We will be running through, we're going to be a weekly podcast running through the goings on in wrestling, the news, and what has happened on the shows, in a general kind of perspective. But we should probably start with the thing that happened first this week, the major event, the Royal Rumble last Sunday. Of course, we do have our two Royal Rumble winners, which are Edge and Bianca Belair.
Woo!
Going forth to WrestleMania. What did you think of the Rumble matches? Did you have a favourite?
I loved the females Rumble match. That was my favourite. Like, props for, damn it, I forgot her name.
Rhea Ripley? Bianca Belair?
No, from the Iconics.
Oh, Billie Kay's bit. Yeah, Billie Kay was hilarious.
Props to Billie Kay, because it was absolutely incredible, the start of that Royal Rumble with her just being silly as hell.
Yeah, she was
so
brilliant.
Funny.
She is
so funny.
Very good.
And everyone in that Rumble just kind of like gave it a little bit extra to it.
Yeah.
I felt like.
It was
really, really, really nice to see like the women's Royal Rumble again, like being in the spotlight and being like the best.
Yeah.
I think like last year I felt the same thing with it, that the women's was a bit better than the men's.
But that's because you didn't like the Brock bit with the men's.
True.
I think you kind of have the opposite opinion to most people.
Yeah.
I think in hindsight, the Brock thing's better.
Yes.
But I rewatched it recently and I still didn't 100% enjoy the Brock bit. Like, I enjoyed it to a point.
Yeah.
But it's only because you know Drew's coming and the Drew thing makes it better.
Exactly, true.
But I really enjoyed the Women's Royal Rumble.
So good.
The big surprise when Rhea eliminates Alexa Bliss out of nowhere.
Yes.
Before even doing anything.
Before Alexa Bliss. So Alexa Bliss was trying to become her crazy... Fiendish bliss. And halfway through, Rhea just grabs her and throws her away from the ring. Which made me sad that Alexa just got eliminated so quickly. As soon as she came in, like 5 minutes later, not even that, she was gone.
Yeah.
Which made me a bit sad. But then again, she doesn't need to be there.
But it was the best way to protect her.
Exactly.
Because if she's in her fiendish form, and I'm doing little bunny ears for you, then she shouldn't really be getting eliminated. She should be being protected at that point.
Exactly.
Because then she should be on the same level as the Fiend itself.
Which is basically just being indestructible and all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's the thing, like, for them to change her halfway through the Rumble would take so much work. Like, everyone would just have to be, like, freeze while she changes clothes and then get back to recording.
Yeah, that editing would have been such a pain. Such a pain.
Yeah.
But, so the original idea for the Rumble was that Alexa was supposed to, I don't know the entire details, but the original idea in the men's Rumble was Alexa was supposed to get involved in that.
Yeah.
Kind of expectedly.
Brandy and stuff.
Yeah, it was supposed to be, because there was a thing on WrestleVotes, which is a Twitter thing that is very reliable for rumours and reports, where they reported that there was going to be a scary finish to the men's Royal Rumble. And apparently it was more scary in terms of Fiend scary, not being like Goldberg winning or anything.
Oh, God.
No. But Alexa was supposed to get involved with Randy, Edge, and Christian at the end of the Rumble.
I assume
to get to the same place.
I assume
obviously.
So.
I assume it's probably what they did on Raw. Just a very similar version of that, of just her appearing and goop coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
And then
that was
Edge eliminating Christian, I guess. I wouldn't have expected it to be that much. It's not like... Yeah. But, of course, in the Men's Royal Rumble, another big bit of news. We had some big returns. We had the return of Christian, returning after a long old time. Potentially looking at coming back a bit more as a part-time guy now, which would be interesting. Should be very nice to see if that happened. It was a very nice surprise to see. And of course, we also got Carlito.
Which was really funny because we had watched the Royal Rumble.
We'd watched...
God knows which one it was.
It was 2006.
Yes,
the Rey Mysterio Rumble was the one we watched where we saw Carlito.
Yeah, and I was like, I really recognize him. And then suddenly the day after, we watched the actual Rumble from this year and he showed up.
Yeah, and then Carlito was there. And he was also on Raw.
And he's actually on Raw, yeah.
Yeah, he's on Raw. So potentially we could be seeing the same kind of arc as MVP had. Because obviously MVP returned in the Rumble last year after not being in the company for years.
Yeah.
And now a year later is running the Her business.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Who knows? Maybe it's going to go somewhere interesting with those guys.
It was really good, the choice they made of which people from NXT would show up.
Yeah.
On the Rumble, so it was really
Shotzi
nice.
shooting
Shotzi shooting Billy. Well, trying to and just absolutely missing, but still, it was really funny. Like, it was really nice seeing people from NXT showing up.
Yeah,
it was just really, really nice.
It was really nice.
It always makes me happy when they do that.
And we got the person who probably had the best showing out of those NXT guys. Apart from, obviously Rhea did in the women's.
Yes.
We don't know what's going on with Rhea yet. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully she'll turn up on Raw at some point.
Yeah, I hope so.
Because they need some match for WrestleMania.
And they need women.
They do need women desperately.
They barely had enough women for the Rumble.
Yeah. But we did have Damian Priest making his big debut in the men's.
And doing incredibly well.
He was great in that Rumble.
Who did he eliminate?
Loads of people. He eliminated loads. I can't remember. He eliminated someone who's a big deal, but I can't remember.
It wasn't Batista. It was Batista. No.
Batista wasn't there.
No, it wasn't there.
No. He eliminated Miz and Morrison. I know that.
Yeah.
Because then they did the thing with Bad Bunny.
Yes.
Where he jumped off the top.
Yes, they did.
I can't remember his name, but Priest did a really good job in the Rumble.
It was so good.
And I'm very excited to see Priest on the main roster because he has come on in terms of his character work and being more interesting. I think he was always a very good wrestler. But he became so much more interesting to watch this past year in NXT.
Yeah, I agree.
You go from ever since his match at I think it was
the Halloween
in
one.
your house. No, but the first in your house back in May or April. No, May, June. He had the match with Finn Balor that was really good and the first kind of sign to him being a bit more of a baby face and more of a big deal in that match. But then went on to turn properly face and had that great North American title run. Yeah. The matches with Johnny Gargano and Leo Ruff. Good. Really good stuff. And I'm very excited. He should be a big deal going forward. Yeah. And we'll get to it when we get to Raw, but we do have some potential WrestleMania plans for Damian Priest already set in motion, apparently. Should be interesting to see. But also, apart from the Rumbles, we also did have Roman and Kevin having their big last man standing match, which was really fun. Lots of silly spots.
Really good. Unfortunately, the botch at the end was a bit unfortunate. Really but if we don't count that, the entire match was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, the match was great.
Stealing the cart joke from AEW, but still, it was
in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they catched him from off screen.
He probably
and everything.
Caught him.
Yeah,
in
really
the cart. It was funny. And the end of it would be a good idea if it had been quicker. Don't say it was the best idea. It should have been something bigger than that. Yeah. But it would have worked better, obviously, without the botch.
Yeah, it was that botch really took the atmosphere away from it because it was the referee just stopped counting. He just gave up.
Yeah.
And it's okay, Roman is still down. You did the thing where you counted before when he was in this position. Because there was the great spot just before where the ref got to 9, Roman pulled him in, smashed his head on the TV so he couldn't count to 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a great spot. It was a really good spot.
He could have done it again. Just grab the other referee and just throw him away as well.
I wish, but...
Yeah, no, it was a bit... I understand why. It was such a...
But because of that taking the kind of the air out of it, then the chokehold at the end...
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense and it works, but it's a little bit anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Thank goodness we did see Drew beat Goldberg in a very, very short little match.
Yes, I was scared for a little second, but when he kicked out of the Claymore kick, the first one, I was a bit like,
Yeah, it's kind of it was a shame to have Goldberg kick out of it. I understand why, because he's Goldberg, but it's such a well-protected move. Because they're saying it's literally only Brock that's kicked out of it.
I don't know whether that's in a certain amount of time
But at least since last Royal Rumble,
Yeah.
Brock's the only person who's kicked out of the Claymore. So it's a bit of a shame that was kind of given to Goldberg because they protected this so well. But hey ho, I don't really mind. Drew won. That's the most important thing.
Exactly.
And we're going forward with Drew.
Still champ.
Yes. So that was our Royal Rumble. The last thing I would say on it is I did hate the Randy Orton backstage stuff. Randy Orton getting taken backstage.
Oh God, yes! During the Rumble, he just the cameras were always focusing on him so much.
Yeah, I was shouting at the screen.
Come on, please don't. It just put Aiden in a very bad mood.
Yeah, it was a really bad start to them because those spots, you know when they do that spot that the person's just going to come back at the end. So what they did with Roman, and that went so well for them. They did it with Steve Austin back in the day as well, I think. And that went better, but that still led to Vince McMahon winning a Rumble, so not necessarily that well. They just shouldn't have done that stuff with Randy that took him away, and then focus on him so much while like Shinsuke, Cesaro, all these great guys when they were doing really good action, and it was all just completely missed because they were just focusing on Randy as he limped away, taking about 10 years. It was that really took me out of the men's Royal Rumble, to be honest.
Made me sad.
But it was good to see Edge get that win. I would have preferred a younger guy winning.
I would have preferred Daniel Bryan because of the reasons we talked about in terms of
this potentially being his last year, and he deserves a Rumble win.
Yeah.
It's a fresh winner. It probably should have been Bryan. Yeah. But I don't necessarily have an issue with it. They're kind of using Bryan, putting people over position, so I don't really mind.
Also, props to Bianca for winning. She's absolutely incredible. We kind of bet on Rhea when...
Yeah, my
during the Rumble.
My thing was Rhea.
I wanted Rhea to win, but by the end, when it was just Rhea and Belair, I was like, whichever one wins, I really don't mind.
Yeah, I'm so glad they got rid of Charlotte third. And then it just it really worked. I really enjoyed it. And she had a great little emotional speech afterwards. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was so good.
But yes. So after that, of course, after the Rumble, we had Monday Night Raw kicking off with Drew McIntyre and Edge. Edge appeared everywhere this week. He was on every single show.
Of course he did.
Making his presence known to all the champions.
Of course he
did. And essentially on every single show he came along, he set up who the next opponent is going to be for those champions, and then he left. Is basically what happened. So on this show, he had a little face-to-face with Drew, and then in comes Sheamus, bro-kicking Drew's head off.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yep, so Drew and Sheamus looking to be going forward as the big feud on Monday Night Raw, finally turning Sheamus on Drew, breaking up this friendship they've had over the past time. It's a bit of a shame that Keith Lee isn't there right now, because obviously in terms of Raw, so he wasn't in the Rumble either, because Mia Yim, Reckoning from Retribution, and Keith Lee, Mia Yim confirmed that she was COVID positive, so she had to quarantine. And obviously, Keith Lee is Mia's husband, so you had to just assume they both were quarantined together because that's the sensible thing to do. But it's a bit of a shame not to have Keith Lee around for this, because Keith's kind of quite a big part of this story.
Yeah,
because Keith and Sheamus have kind of been bickering about not trusting
since Survivors. Being
Keith hasn't trusted Sheamus, and Sheamus hasn't trusted Keith Lee, and there's been I do wonder whether what the ultimate goal of this is going to be. So I don't really know what Drew's WrestleMania match is going to be. He's going to be champ going into it. I'm pretty confident on that, but I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what his match is going to be. It's going to be interesting to see where that works out, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Sheamus turning heel is. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that for the short term going forward.
Exactly.
We have new contenders for the Women's Tag Team Champions, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, who won the titles at the Royal Rumble.
Pre-show?
The pre-show with all the interference from Lacey Evans.
Oh, God, yes.
Lacey Evans got involved in this match again.
Of course she did.
To prevent Charlotte and Asuka from getting a rematch with Nia and Shayna. Instead, we have new number one contenders, which are Naomi and Lana.
Oh, God.
So they are on the contenders for the women's tag titles, which is an interesting one.
Okay.
It's fine. I don't really care.
Yeah.
They don't care about those titles.
No.
They really don't. What they really should do is the winner of the Women's Dusty Classic on NXT should just come up and take those titles.
Yeah.
Like, they should just call up Dakota and Raquel and just have them take those titles.
Yeah.
I know Raquel has other stuff to do in NXT, but you can still have it's a multi-brand title. You can have them any way you want
Exactly.
But they don't care about those tag titles at all. But,
no, they should have them. If they are interchangeable, they should have them on NXT because they have good females.
They have so much female talent, and it would do really well.
And do well in terms of like tag teams and stuff.
Yeah,
like
there's
they would
loads
be
of
absolutely
them.
fine.
They'd be fine. They've got a great division over there.
Yeah.
They should just put those titles in NXT for a bit and just let it be. But they won't. But they should. We also had Matt Riddle getting his United States Championship match against Bobby Lashley, which ended in nonsense.
Fair.
Again. Because it always does. I'm pretty sure Matt Riddle, I think I saw a statistic that was like, apart from, obviously he was in the Rumble, but that Matt Riddle essentially in the last 12 weeks or something stupid like that has only faced off against members of the Hurt Business.
Fair.
Which doesn't it doesn't surprise me. It's just kind of silly at this point. Because now it's like, if you're going to, because I think Matt Riddle would have been a good person to put that title on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean he's not going to get it still, because who knows with this nonsense. My feeling is we're probably going to get Keith, Bobby at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
I wouldn't mind that.
And then you have Keith Lee win the US title at WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind that at all.
I think that's what they should do. And I think that'd be a good feud for them to go forward with. Because they clearly, they like Keith, they really like Bobby. And I think Bobby's done a very good job with the Hurt Business.
He has.
And having Keith Lee, that makes sense as a big credible opponent for Bobby Lashley going forward. Yep. So hopefully that's something that they will do. We got the Raw debut of Damian Priest showing up on Miz TV to join up with Mr. Bad Bunny. So the WrestleMania match that is being talked about is that we are reportedly going to be seeing, potentially, we'll see what happens, is Miz and Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny at WrestleMania to try and capitalize on the popularity of Bad Bunny.
I didn't even know he was that popular.
Yes.
Fair.
But the thing is, he is. I didn't realize either because we're not into popular music. But he was literally the number one Spotify artist of last year.
Oh, wow.
And he's obviously huge in Latin America.
Okay, makes sense.
He's absolutely massive, and they want to try and use his association to get Priest over with the Latin American audience.
Of course, it makes sense.
And it'll bring a lot of eyeballs over to WrestleMania. Yeah. And like Miz and Morrison can take a loss.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though he's got that briefcase. Get that briefcase to Damian Priest. That'd be nice. But
when is the next Money in the Bank?
Like June, probably. June, July.
Is it before
June, July,
or
May. It depends on their scheduling.
Is it before or after WrestleMania?
It's after WrestleMania.
Okay.
So they've got time. It just depends where they schedule it.
Yeah, because I was going to say that Money in the Bank matches are about to.
Yeah, that contract's going to be going away soon.
Yeah.
I imagine it's going to be.
He keeps it forever, and then there will be like 2 Money in the Bank briefcases in the mix.
I'm pretty sure the contract runs out when you get 2 Money in the Bank.
Fair, yeah, of course, makes sense.
But you never know. Miz could be the first person to have the contract all the way until his deadline.
Yeah.
Maybe
on the day
he's forced to cash in on Money in the Bank next year and fail. You'd have to imagine because he's not. They've really done a bad job with Miz. They've done a really bad job with Miz. He's just so goofy and has lost every bit of momentum that he has. It's such a shame. Miz, like he's a very good performer and a very good talker. But this whole, there's been a very bad year for the Miz. Let's just say that, unfortunately, and they just shouldn't have given him the briefcase back after TLC.
Yes,
they don't seem like they had a plan for it.
They didn't have to.
We'll see. Maybe there is some grand plan that we didn't know about. Maybe.
Who knows? We'll
have to see. And we did have the big blow off. We had Edge versus Randy Orton in the main event of Monday Night Raw, supposedly the end of their feud. Supposedly. We'll see. But we did have Edge pick up the big win over Randy Orton after distraction from Alexa Bliss with goop coming out of her mouth.
Yeah, she's just sitting in the corner, and then suddenly she kind of like not opens her mouth, but it starts coming out like blood or something like dark out of her mouth down the neck. It was just absolutely disgusting, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So good.
They need to do something different with it, to be honest. They need to move the storyline forwards.
Yes.
It's been a long time of just Alexa.
I know that the Fiend was probably Bray Wyatt was probably on holiday or whatever it is, but still they need to...
I don't really know. I haven't really heard anything about what's going on with the Fiend, because there is like potential rumours of him maybe completely coming back as a new look, a completely change of what he is. I still think I don't necessarily think they're going to go with that. I don't particularly think they should.
He still has so much.
There's still more they can do with the Fiend as a character. But there'll be a third alternate in terms of Bray, the Fiend, and someone else. You never know what they're going to do with this kind of stuff. But it's going to be interesting when Bray comes back.
Yeah.
I wonder whether it maybe we could see, because obviously we have Elimination Chamber coming up at the end of the month, I assume, at the end of February. And I wouldn't be... You kind of have to expect the Randys probably... If they're going to do an Elimination Chamber for the men on Raw, you'd have to expect the Randys probably going to be in that match.
Yeah.
Whether it be for the championship or number one contender for WrestleMania, you'd kind of have to assume Randy's going to be in there because he's a major player in Raw.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the point where we see the Fiend properly return and screw Randy Orton out of WrestleMania to set up the blow-off match at WrestleMania, a big Firefly Funhouse match between the two of them, which I think would be a lot of fun if they do it properly. It's a bit more difficult, obviously, this year because they will have some fans in the building.
Yeah, but if it's the only match they do that is pre-recorded,
if it's the only cinematic, it'll work well. Yeah, I think it would be a good idea to do. We'll have to wait and see where that goes. But that's kind of all there was for Raw this week. The major things. There were some other bits and bobs, but nothing particularly important. But after Raw, we did find out some news of releases that have happened this week.
Oh.
Yes. So the first one that's probably more interesting to you, because the second person you won't know, but the first person, Lars Sullivan, has been released from WWE.
Finally.
So... you say you shouldn't really celebrate a man losing his job.
I'm sorry for you to lose your job, but...
Yes, he's someone who probably should have gone a while ago.
Exactly.
But he was quietly let go from WWE earlier this week. They didn't make any official statement, but Lars has come out to say that he has been released and went into some details about what happened. He suffered a lot with, when he was first called up to the main roster, he suffered a lot with mental issues, mental health issues, which got to him a lot and prevented him from eating and stuff like that, is what he said. He would struggle to eat. And also he went through a bad time with his dad passing away, apparently. And so he's been through the ringer a bit, and then he had injury problems, came back, nothing really worked out. But the reason why he's been released is because apparently he just stopped going in, essentially. He just stopped going into TV. So they just released him. Okay. Even though Vince was very high on him, or even throughout all of it, even through all his comments and everything, they were still very high on him. And apparently he was always very courteous with the people when he spoke to them in terms of apologising for his past remarks. Not that excuses what he did, and it doesn't excuse the fact that he continued to talk to people in that way. Because we recently had the thing with the Instagram stuff, with the yoga person, and I didn't have any interest in seeing Lars, and all of that stuff really damaged his reputation. Yes. And he was never that great as a wrestler anyway. There could have been something to him, and he was originally he was supposed to have big plans to go and face off with John Cena, face off with Brock Lesnar. They had really big things in store for him because obviously he's very prototypical their style.
The big man,
Yeah, but at least he can go away knowing that he had a 5-star match in WWE. He is 5-star Lars because he was part of that big North American Championship match, the big ladder match when it was originally made.
Oh God.
Which is a 5-star match. And then he went on to have a no, it wasn't the main event because that was Champion Gargano, but he got an NXT Championship match against Aleister Black. He had some good stuff, I guess. Yeah. There was some fun bits, like him facing off with Killian Dane and stuff was quite nice. There's not all negatives to his career, but it's a shame for him because he clearly seems to have issues and has regretted what he's done.
Yeah,
and this
exactly. Owning up to his mistakes and stuff like that.
And he's kind of quite clearly said that this is basically it for him.
I am sorry for my reaction earlier.
Yeah, and he's kind of said that this is it for him. This is going to be it for him in terms of wrestling.
Yeah.
Which, it's a shame. You don't really want to see that for anyone, but as long as he can go on and work on his issues and be happy,
exactly.
That's the most important thing. But then the secondary release this week, which I'm going to explain to you who he is, because he's not necessarily someone that big, but was Steve Cutler. So Steve Cutler was...
I've heard that name.
So he was a member of the Forgotten Sons, which was a faction in NXT and then on SmackDown for a very brief period.
I remember.
And then then they got taken off TV due to Jackson Riker, who was the leader of the group, even though he didn't wrestle. It sucked for the other guys. He was the leader of the group who didn't really wrestle. He was just kind of their bodyguard, essentially, who is now the guy who was with Elias on Raw.
Okay, yes.
Yes, he's the guy who's kind of backing up Elias on Raw now. And he made some very inappropriate comments on Twitter around the time of the Black Lives Matter movement and all this kind of stuff to do with Trump and everything. And it meant that the Forgotten Sons all got taken off TV, even though it was nothing to do with the other two guys.
Yeah, but because
of that, it meant they were taken off TV. They recently came back to be the Knights of the Lone Wolf. The Lone Wolf, I can't speak apparently, on SmackDown with Baron Corbin. But Steve Cutler got released very suddenly as Vince McMahon was livid with him getting COVID.
Oh, God.
So that was the original thing that was kind of heard. It's still to do with him getting COVID, and then they kind of had lost the opportunity to go forward with the storylines that were there, and they were very angry with him for that. But apparently it's more due to the fact that actually he went to a New Year's party. So they're angry about the fact that he kind of put himself in a position to get COVID. And apparently because obviously, like you look at Roman Reigns, Roman wasn't there for ages, wanting to be safe. And apparently that was the main reason why Vince was so annoyed about it, because he kind of promised a safer working environment for these people.
He went to a party and put everyone at risk,
Yeah. So it's not really, I don't really know how to feel about it, but hey guys, it is what it is, and he's going to be fine in terms of where he's going to land. Apparently he's a very well-liked guy.
Good.
So he should be fine as to where he lands, and his partner is Deonna Purrazzo, who's an Impact.
Be a bit more conscious next time.
Yeah, and obviously we don't necessarily know the entire story, but that is kind of what he's gone around that I've heard so far. So let's move on to AEW Beach Bash?
No.
Beach Break.
Beach Break.
Beach Bash.
Beach Break.
Bash, Beach,
no,
Bash,
it's
Boosh.
Definitely Break.
Boosh, Bash, Beach, Bosh, Boosh, Bash.
Bish, Bash, Bosh.
Bish, Bash, Bosh. So, kind of a mixed bag of a show, to be honest, on this one. Especially since it was supposed to be a big week. It's one of their big specials that they were building up to. Started off with the Tag Team Battle Royal to determine the number one contenders.
It was very quick.
Yeah, very quick. A bit messy.
A bit predictable. As soon as we got like halfway through the match.
Yes. It was nice in terms of like they spotlighted the younger guys and the guys they're trying to like put a spotlight on. So they spotlighted not Bowens. What's the other guy's name? Can't remember. The other guy from the Acclaimed, Max Caster, that's his name. He was there right at the end, as was one of the guys from Top Flight. Darius Martin. I think it's Darius, not Dante. Can't remember. But those guys were there at the end with MJF, Jericho, and Sammy.
It's really nice.
But obviously that was kind of quite predictable where that was going to go. Which led to Chris Jericho getting the big win, eliminating Sammy Guevara during all this, which Sammy did seem to take some issue with.
Yeah.
And a bit later in the night, we got a bit of a backstage meeting with the Inner Circle discussing what's going to be happening going forwards. And the segment ended with MJF putting on his serious voice, having a discussion with the members of the Inner Circle, probably leading to...
Closing the door, being like, this is a private conversation.
No one's allowed to listen to this. Continuing the storyline of MJF, slowly but surely taking over the Inner Circle.
Yep.
And I guess probably next week we're probably going to see Sammy kicked out of the Inner Circle. It's probably where we're going to go next week or the week after. Or we may not see him get kicked out, but probably it's going to be broached the subject.
Yeah.
They're going to do another silly segment. They're going to have a big vote or something.
Oh, yeah.
Another meeting of the
like the
circle.
vote they did with MJF joining the Inner Circle.
Yeah. And the vote they had about whether the Inner Circle was going to split up and all this stuff. They have a lot of these kind of segments, and I expect another one before. But we have got it confirmed that at Revolution it will be MJF and Jericho taking on the Young Bucks for the AEW tag titles. It's going to be interesting to see how that one goes down.
Yeah.
I'm not really good. Either team could win there. It just depends how quickly they want to push this MJF Jericho thing.
Yes.
Because I assume they want to get it for Double or Nothing, which is May. So they've still got quite a long time to get to that match. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll see how that's going to go. But they could push it off even further.
Yeah.
They could push it off to All Out if they want to. Because if they're thinking about the potentiality of having a bit more people there, then All Out is probably more likely to have some people. Because obviously that's September. Mm-hmm. But with the way the world is, you probably shouldn't do that. You should probably just get it done, to be honest with you. But we also had in that match we had the Good Brothers, Anderson and Gallows coming out, which cost the Young Bucks in that match. Matt was eliminated. I think it was Matt who was eliminated first. He was eliminated right near the beginning of the match, kind of out of nowhere. And then Nick was dealing with one member of Private Party because obviously we build on Impact. They're building towards the Good Brothers versus Private Party for the Impact tag titles. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so they pulled down the ropes to help eliminate either Isaiah or Mark. I can't remember which one. And then Nick wasn't very happy with this, got in the face of the Good Brothers, and then he was tossed out of the ring very quickly. But yeah, that's kind of continuing the storyline with the Elite and the Bullet Club, Good Brothers, all this stuff that's going on at the moment being. We saw Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. Really fun match between really these two.
Yeah.
Some, not stuff that was their fault, but there was some, I guess, production-y stuff. And it took a while for Reva to be able to deal with getting off the what they call turnbuckle thing. The turnbuckle.
Oh, yes.
The padding. It took a little bit of time to do that. And
I didn't even notice it was
rolling around. It just mainly because of the way that they just some things were a bit long in the tooth, perhaps. But it's a really fun match overall. They got good chemistry, and I'm pretty sure these guys will run into each other again in the big tournament that we've got coming up.
Yes, please do.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And one day for the actual AEW title. Who knows? Yeah.
But Britt Baker does get the win after running Thunder Rosa's head into the exposed metal, which knocked Rosa out. So when Britt Baker puts in the claw, I've forgotten what she calls it now. Whatever. She puts in the claw, and Thunder Rosa's already out. She's unconscious and hitting the metal, so she's out cold already. But we have got confirmed the entrance for the big tournament that we have going forward to go and set up the number one contender.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, it looks like a really good group of people they have for it. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Some new names from the Japanese side.
Yeah, and they're doing American side versus Japanese side as well.
Yeah, the American side, then the Japanese side, and then the Japanese. Whoever the win on the Japanese side is going to have to fly over here.
Yeah.
Have a match, and then we'll have the number one contender for Hikaru Shida's title.
It's really nice not having to fly them every single one of them and everything.
Yeah.
It would be too much exposure and could potentially be too much exposure to the virus and to the world right now.
Yeah, but it works well in terms of they managed to find a space to film these matches in Japan. It'd be interesting to see what it kind of looks like and where they're going to put this tournament, because obviously it's a lot of matches to try and get in before Revolution.
Yeah.
And potentially, I guess maybe we could have the final Revolution. It could be like we have the final Revolution and we have the title match as well. It could be double duty.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. But they haven't exactly explained how it's going to work out yet. But if they get it started this week, which hopefully they will do, then yeah. But I'm excited because the only match they've confirmed so far is Riho versus Serena Deeb. which would be a great match. That'd be a lot of fun. I assume Rio's going to win that.
Yeah.
It's quite a difficult one, that one, with those two. Because obviously it's the big return for Rio.
Yes.
But Serena Deeb is also... She's the NWA Women's Champion. She's done very well on Dynamite, really.
Yeah, I actually don't know.
Yeah. On a slight side note, obviously, Thunder Rosa still is not... She is still contracted by the NWA, but we should be... I believe we're getting close to the end of her contract with NWA. But interestingly enough, a little bit anti to what AEW's logic. So you remember when FTR turned up and they were told, look, you're not allowed to have a contendership number. I can't remember entirely whether it was like you're not allowed to contend for the title or you're not allowed to appear on the rankings at all until you sign a contract with AEW is what they did with them. But Thunder Rosa has now started appearing on the rankings of the actual women's division, which is interesting. Which at least shows some long-term...
like a pre-contract or something like that.
Not necessarily, but at least it just shows some more long-term commitment to AEW, which is very exciting to see, as she's a very strong part of their women's division at the moment.
Very excited.
We had the big wedding, of course. Nothing particularly exciting in the wedding, but it was nice to have Kip and Penelope have their actual wedding.
Actually getting married.
Yeah, tell
that story. It is so sweet.
Yeah, because there's no one... Because obviously Kip's from the UK, he's from Norfolk, and Penelope is obviously from the US, they couldn't have their marriage with people to go and see it, at least people they'd want to see it, so...
Like family flying over.
Yeah, it's not really safe. So they managed to get their wedding to actually happen on TV so that their friends and family could all see it. Which is lovely. It's a really lovely thing. And it's a great memory. At least you'll always be able to go back and watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
In high quality. And then obviously they'll have like a proper thing once the world's back to normal. But it's lovely they managed to do that. Which is kind of why this segment felt a little bit long in the tooth.
Yes.
Because they kind of had to do the entire wedding. But it was lovely to see it happen, and knowing that afterwards really helped. Miro went off. He got very distracted with singing What Is Love. Because the entire crowd just responded. So he
kept saying, what is love?
Yeah, and also the crowd would continue the song. But then at one point he was just like, what is love? What is love?
And then he realised what people were actually singing, and he just loved it.
He got very into it. But yeah, it wasn't necessarily that well done segment. There was a big present in the corner, so Miro was like, what's in the box? What's in the box? And then he beat out the box, and obviously nothing was in the box. The camera work wasn't very good because... So Chuck Taylor was sent to the outside to go and do something, to go and clean up. But the camera work caught him what he was doing, which was putting something around the ankle of Miro, which he probably wasn't supposed to see
it, so I was okay.
I noticed straight away and was like, what is he doing? Yeah. Because Miro wasn't reacting. He was pretending like it wasn't happening. He'd handcuffed Miro's foot to the ring and then started beating up on Miro. And then out from the cake comes Orange Cassidy and they run wild, as you would expect.
Yeah.
It was fine. It just wasn't anything special. It could have been they could have found a more interesting way to do it instead of I think the cake is the cake and the present.
When he was like
similar stuff.
Exactly, because when Miro was like, "Oh, I've been to weddings. I know what happens. What's in the box?" And I was like, "You've been to a wedding where someone was inside the cake as well."
Yeah. Well, he was in the cake.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in the cake for Bobby Lashley's wedding. He should have known. He should have known. He knows exactly what it's like to be inside a cake.
What happened with Excuse Me Lady?
Oh yeah, Vicky was like the person to let them know it was all going on, and then she vanished.
She was there, and then she just bye-bye.
Yeah.
She was gone. It was funny.
Yeah. We got a tiny bit more development with the Hangman Page stuff, but nothing particularly exciting there. Yeah. But it's quite a slow build with that one.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I really enjoy Hangman, so it's fine. Got the follow-up to the Eddie Kingston Lance Archer match from last week, where this time Lance managed to get the big win this time, and Jake Roberts did a clothesline to Jack Evans on the outside, which is quite entertaining. But it was a lumberjack match. There was kind of too much going on for my liking.
But that's normal with lumberjack matches for us.
Yeah, it depends. I like the the best lumberjack matches, there was the SummerSlam 20 lumber match, yeah. The Slumberjack, I just called it. And Slumberjack 2015 with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. They had a great lumberjack match. That was a really good one. But anyway, but the biggest thing on Dynamite was our main event, which was absolutely amazing. Really good main event. I
forgot about that. How did I forget about that?
Really good main event, which had Pac, Ray Phoenix and Jon Moxley taking on Kenny and the Good Brothers. Kenny and the Good Brothers came out with a new theme for all of them together.
Yeah.
A new Bullet Club theme for them.
Which kind of worried us for a little bit.
Yeah, I thought Kenny's theme had gone, which I was going to be quite sad about, and his big intro and everything.
But then at the end, his music played, so it's
But at the end, when he won, they played Battle Cry, so it's all good. But yeah, this match was superb, so much fast-paced action.
And having Pac and Ray Phoenix coming out from where Moxley usually comes out.
Yeah, Phoenix and Pac coming out from where Mox does. Really good. These guys
they all
really went for it. Some really nice spots in here, like Kenny hitting the paradigm shift onto Moxley and then Pac doing a 450 off the top rope.
Yeah, seeing Pac officially on like main events and stuff is really nice.
Well, Pac's been in the main event.
I know, but it's just nice like...
Yeah, it's good to see him there.
Yeah.
And it's nice to kind of keep this going. It's just a really good match. Phoenix is incredible. He's so good at just flying around the place.
Yeah.
All of these guys are so good. They get the win off a... what's it called? Anderson and Gallows' tag finish, which I've forgotten what it's called now, which is bad. But they win off that onto Phoenix. But then the most important thing is post-match, they all start beating up on Phoenix. Out for the save comes Mr. Lance Archer.
Yes.
Saving the day. But then out of nowhere becomes a man in a hood and a mask. Takes off his hood, takes off the mask. And it is Kenta from New Japan Pro Wrestling, from the real Bullet Club, per se, coming out and dropping Jon Moxley with a GTS.
Yeah.
And then there was a little thing online afterwards saying, we're getting next week, which I'm very excited about. Next week. So we had a little interaction between Kenny and Kenta in the parking lot. And Kenny was like, "Hey, brother Kenta, you didn't know brother Switchblade didn't tell me you were coming, trying to be all buddy with the Bullet Club and everything." Kenta tells him to shut the fuck up, essentially.
Nice.
He says that, basically. And then keeping up, saying he doesn't really care about whatever Kenny's doing. He just wants to get at Moxley for that IWGP United States Championship. And Kenny issues a challenge for a lights out match next week.
Oh,
a
nice.
lights out Falls Count Anywhere match, which is Kenny and Kenta versus Moxley and Archer.
Nice.
Which is going to be a superb match. That's going to be so much fun. But yes, the most important thing out of this, though, is obviously Kenta has turned up, giving more interest to this New Japan Pro Wrestling AEW partnership. And because obviously AEW is teaming up with everyone at the moment.
Exactly. We weren't very sure that if they were like officially pairing up with...
Yeah, because obviously there's been a lot of issues with New Japan because they were very much burnt after Kenny and the Buck. After essentially they all left and took the top US talent away from New Japan, which they weren't very happy about. But apparently this entire deal has come down to Moxley. New Japan Pro Wrestling didn't want to take the title off Moxley, and they really didn't want to do it. They really wanted to keep using Moxley because they think he's such a big name for them. He's
incredible, yeah.
They really want to keep using him. So that is where this partnership has come from for this. It's to get Moxley to stay on New Japan.
Yeah.
And that's what's got Kenta over, so they can continue to build up to this US title match, which is happening at New Beginnings in USA later in the month between Kenta and Moxley. Which should be really good to see, and it's good to start to see some of this connection between New Japan and AEW. Potentially we can get this big Kota Ibushi Kenny Omega match at some point.
Yes.
Potentially. Our big champion in AEW and our big champion in New Japan. Yes, but that's all for AEW this week. And so now on to NXT quickly.
Yeah. We
had some more tournament matches going forward for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. We had Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter going up against Dakota and Raquel. Good match. Casey Catanzaro is just ridiculous with her flips.
Yes.
Do you remember the flip I showed you last time? With the flip from her on the top, jumping and like corkscrewing onto someone's back. I can't remember who it was now. Onto Tony Storm's back, I think it was. But yeah, she did that again, and she did another massive spot where she climbed up the scaffolding in the building.
Oh wow!
And was like probably a good 6 feet, not 6 feet, good like 10 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
And then leaps down onto Dakota and Raquel. Wow. But Raquel manages to pick up the win for the team,
of course,
putting them into the finals, which will be at NXT Revengeance Day. I know that's not the name, but I'm going to call it Revengeance Day. Where they'll be going up against either Candice and Indy or Shotzi and Ember, which seems very clearly is going to be Shotzi and Ember going forward to that position.
Yeah.
But we'll find that out next week. We also had in our main event on NXT, we had Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher teaming up to take on Adam Cole and Roderick Strong in for the men's Dusty Classic, where Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa did manage to pick up the big victory. A little bit of an upset, kind of. But NXT's Dusty Classic, they always love to, like, the odd couple pairings.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many winners. There have been odd couple pairings. Like, we had last year, there was Pete Dunne and Ricochet. Mm-hmm. Ricochet?
Yeah.
Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, I apologise.
Ah, yes. Yes,
the
yes.
Broserweights.
I remember.
Then the year before that, Black and Ricochet. Mm. We also had Samoa Joe and Finn Balor win it before.
Yeah, fair
they
enough.
like to do odd couples.
Yeah.
So they're probably, I wouldn't be surprised. They're definitely going to be in the final, you'd have to imagine. And then the other big team that gets a win is MSK, the newly debuted MSK a couple of weeks ago from, of course, the Rascals before from Impact, picking up the big victory. We continue to build up towards this Karrion Kross and Santos Escobar match, which seems to be happening at Vengeance Day, with Kross getting in the face of Escobar. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing that happened on NXT this week was Edge turning up to NXT and getting in the face of Finn Balor.
Of course.
And then doing what he's done on every show this week, setting up Finn Balor's next challenger. So out comes Pete Dunne, and they set up the match for NXT Vengeance Day, which is going to be Finn Balor versus Pete Dunne. Cool. But the more interesting thing, as reported by WrestleVotes, is that apparently they're looking to have the NXT Championship featured at WrestleMania this year. Because it's 2 nights.
That's cool.
And it's just filling up the card a bit.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
They had the NXT Women's Championship last year. Mm-hmm. But apparently they were interested in having Finn Balor defending the NXT Championship at WrestleMania.
It'd be nice for him to come back to WrestleMania and everything.
Yeah, it'd be a really nice spot for Finn to have. And we also saw backstage Edge having a little interaction with Karrion Kross, and you'd have to assume that we are going to build up to Finn versus Kross at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Is probably where we're going to end up going for that, you'd have to say. And unfortunately for Pete Dunne, it's probably kind of puts him in a bad position for this takeover with that news. But that is kind of our major NXT things this week. Nothing too exciting going forward, but we are right on the path to NXT Vengeance Day. And then lastly, we did have SmackDown last night. Again, Edge showed up. Roman Reigns was like, hey, stop messing around, essentially. Yeah. You tell me if you're going to face me or not. You come out and tell me if you're going to face me. Mm-hmm. So the main event segment of SmackDown, we had Edge and Roman Reigns. Roman essentially,
kills
Edge,
him.
Tell me. No, he doesn't kill him. Roman Reigns is the one who gets killed. He gets killed by Kevin Owens.
Of course.
Kevin Owens comes out, gives a stunner to Roman Reigns, setting up yet again Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens.
I don't mind. Their matches are usually
the matches are fun. It's just a bit of a we've seen it a lot now.
Yeah.
But if it's going we are going to Elimination Chamber, so if it is a chamber match, I don't really mind.
Exactly.
I just don't really want to see them 1-on-1 again. That's the only thing, to be honest. We have from Bianca Belair kind of starting to set up potentially her match with Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Because nothing happened in the segment, really. She just ended up beating up Reginald with her hair, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
It was nice to see her whipping people again. Yeah, that was kind of the only really big things. Oh, no, apologies. We also had an Intercontinental Championship match.
Oh, yes.
We had Big E versus Apollo Crews versus Sami Zayn. Match came to a finish where Apollo Crews did a big... he picked Sami Zayn up right above his head and then tossed him out into the timekeeper's area. Nice. Ran back into the ring to try and get the advantage on Big E, and Big E caught him straight into the big ending. Down for the count, 1, 2, 3. Big E still your Intercontinental Champion. Apollo Crews taking the pin, and Sami Zayn out in the middle of the world, getting screwed again. Getting screwed once again. Very, very disappointing.
Poor Sami.
But before we finish the podcast for this week, I will have to ask, who do you want Edge to face at WrestleMania? What do you want the title match to be?
I don't know.
Do you want him to go for Drew? Do you want him to go for Finn? Do you want him to go for Roman Reigns? Or do you think one of them are going to lose their titles before WrestleMania?
I think Drew might lose his title. Because unless he goes against... He'll probably go for Finn, just like Charlotte did last year with...
Really? Okay.
I think he might go to the NXT title.
That'd be interesting if he did. It'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Be a big match for Finn. I think he's probably going to go against Roman. I think that's probably the money match. But it does mean that Edge is going to lose.
Exactly. That's the only thing. Like, if Edge was to win...
If they really want Edge to win, then he kind of has to face Finn or Drew.
Yeah.
Or whoever beats Drew for that title.
Yeah. Which I don't want it to happen.
I don't want that to happen, but I really don't see Drew's opponent. Unless they have Brock back, I don't see who is a big enough opponent for Drew come WrestleMania. Because they've kind of done it.
Would be Priest.
He's only just come up. He's only just come up.
Exactly. He's a good opponent to him later on.
Yeah. It's all like repeated matches.
Exactly.
Like AJ would be a big match, but you've done it. You've done it at TLC and it was good, but like the build to it wasn't exactly anything exciting. Exactly. Keith Lee, they've just done it. And we've also just had Sheamus turn on Drew. Yeah. Like, are we really going to have another friend just repeating the same line and just attacking Drew?
Yeah.
I don't think they should do a face versus face. I don't think that helps anyone. Yeah, I really don't know where Drew. It's not going to be Drew or Sheamus at WrestleMania. That's kind of too drawn out to get to WrestleMania at this point. Drew and Miz, goodness me, no.
God.
Yeah, I don't know unless they're going to go Drew and Brock. That's the only thing I can think of. But obviously, he is not currently under contract with the company, so it's unlikely. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen.
And then Bianca, I wanted to go against
Bianca and Sasha. And Sasha. Yeah, I still think it's going to be a triple threat, Bianca, Sasha, Bayley.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily going to complain no matter what happens, to be honest. But that is all for this week's edition of the Elite Takeover podcast. Hope you've enjoyed what you've listened to, and we'll be back next week to cover the next week in wrestling and our predictions going into NXT Vengeance Day, which will be on Valentine's Day next weekend. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time.